That's 8 for 8, Dot. Perfect score. The rain washed it all nicely for you, didn't it? Yeah. Well, my father couldn't find a job as a barber in Prescott, Maine. And somehow or other, Ralph Arnold Folsom Jr. left Prescott, Maine as a teenager and went to Lincoln, Maine, which is about I would say 130 miles south, out of Aroostook County, because my father found a job for $7 a week as a barber. A man owned a barber shop in Lincoln, and my father went to work for him for $7 a week. And it was in the middle of the winter, 8 years old and in 3rd grade. Middle of the winter. A car, and my mother put wood, split wood, into the oven and wrapped it in a blanket with a back seat for Gordon and myself. And we left in the middle of the night. We got as far as Holton, 50 miles south, maybe? We stayed in a hotel, an old-fashioned hotel with wallpaper on the wall and ceilings very, very high. And I believe the next day we arrived in Lincoln, Maine. The only thing that kept it going was a paper mill, the Great Northern Paper, where they cut down trees and mashed them up into paper. And there was a severe odor. It was sulfur, rotten, assessate, sour, tart. We went into a great, great big house, a huge house. There was heat only in the kitchen from the stove. Was that right? And it had a double-sized kitchen. It was the size of 2 kitchens. And a great big dining room and a parlor and a porch. And a great big bedroom downstairs. And upstairs there were 4 bedrooms. Very, very cold. I think there were registers in the ceiling to go to one of the bedrooms upstairs. And the sheets were cold at night. Cold, cold, cold. And there again my mother used to heat split wood to put into the bed at night. Cold, cold. And not enough clothes either. Some hand-me-down clothes from Uncle Lester and Aunt Lillian, who lived in Winchester, outside of Boston, because Uncle Lester was a civil engineer for Schraff's Chocolates. And every Christmas, he would send us a box, or 2 boxes, this big, of seconds. Chocolates that had been rejected and couldn't go into the boxes that were sold. And there was a companion house next to this house. And it was really on a it really wasn't a street, because those were the only 2 houses. It was like a driveway. And the companion house was empty. forlorn and empty and depression-like. This is the depression. (1936), thereabouts. And I had to start 3rd grade in a new school. The teacher was Miss Munson. We played marbles. We had clays. The clays you played with and the marbles you exchanged. Then you dig a hole and then you'd shoot the marble this way with your thumb along the dirt to get it into the hole. And then if you won, you would get marbles from the other person. If you lost, you gave marbles. And we used to look at those marbles and look at the collections. Some marbles were this big. Some were cat's eyes. They look like cat's eyes. And in order to go to the main street, this was the empty house, and this was our house, and this was an acclivity. You had to go through a ditch and up the hill, and it was a car dealer, a Ford car dealer, and that was Main Street. And Main Street consisted maybe of 10 buildings, 10 or 11, 12 buildings, a drugstore, a barber shop, a Finest, First National store, a clothing store. The Depression, 1936. My mother took boarders. People would come from out of town because they had no employment in the smaller towns, and they would come to Lincoln to go to work in the mill. Not to live permanently, just temporarily. And my mother boarded those people, room and board. What good are these memories? What good is the past? Stay in the present. God is running the present, and is running perfectly. And that gives you cause for joy, and it gives us cause for thanks. Frame of reference. 3 petals. Different. Every time it's different, God. Every time your creation is different and embellished. And what happened to those little tubes inside? They look like castle turrets. What happened to them? The rain got into that. Let's take these leaves out. We have to move on because of mosquitoes. This one is the one that has done its spores, done its job, and is moving on. Generation after generation. Austin is in Boston and he can't see these. Now he could see them on YouTube. And here are the ones on the ground, Austin. That's a tree stump under there. And now, 7 spears of grass for .com. Right here, the mower doesn't get it. Feeding the animals underneath the 1980 Lincoln. You know, Glendora, this might be the best thing you do all day. is feed the animals every morning peanut butter crackers. Hello, Ruffy cat. Yeah, Ruffy cat. Yeah, you want somebody to pet him. Or her. What a nice tail you have, Ruffy cat. Yeah. Your white gloves and your white shoes. You're kissing the camera. Hey, well, that's nice. You kiss the TV audience. Okay, Ruffy, let's go pick the grass for .com. You're outdoors. You can get your grass all the time. You don't want me to leave you, Ruffy? Here. You have to move along because there are mosquitoes on such a damp day. There we are, 7, 8, for good measure, Ruffy. You like grass, Ruffy? Yeah? You like grass? I think he's pushing it away. Folks, I have to come out to Paradise to telephone. There's something about the leaves that come in the spring, and the rain gets the leaves wet, and it stops the signal. I don't think it's Straight Talk's fault. So let's start a new game. Let's do reminiscing. 5 minutes. at a time. Would that be fun? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Call me up and reminisce with me over the phone, and we'll see what comes of it. Do you like theidea.com? Let's see, 37, 38, 39, Bangor, Maine, 6th grade, the co-estate, people who had made money by living and working in Maine, usually by ravage of the forests, the woods, lumber. And on the co-estate there was a small building, and somehow or other the co-estate let the school system in Bangor use that for the 6th grade. It was a one-room schoolhouse. And I remember push-pull, and around and around, ovals, the Palmer method, to learn to be good writers. And well, I failed. I must remember that. I must reform. And I remember Lois Wiegand, and we used to play school. And her father worked for the Bangor Daily News, which was a very prominent and well-esteemed, highly esteemed newspaper, daily newspaper. Gordon delivered newspapers for it. And Lois Wiegand's father worked all night, because he ran the press machine, and he slept all day. They didn't have a very nice home. I remember going through the room where he was sleeping, and it didn't look very comfortable. And then we moved from 353 Ohio Street to 193rd Street, which was near Union Street and Hamden Street, and the street that went out to the Bangor Airport. That would not be Hamden Street. And 7th grade was Hannibal Hamlin School, Vice President of the United States. And it was an old Victorian building. But the Bangor School District was quite advanced, and it went into the 633 plan, folks. You had 6 grades of elementary school, and you had 3 grades, 7th, 8th, and 9th of junior high school, and then senior high school, 10th, 11th, and 12th. It was a very advanced system, and a very good system. So started at Hannibal Hamlin in the 7th grade, and Miss Peavy was the history, social studies history. Social studies, no longer history, it was called social studies. But Miss Burns taught Latin, and we rotated classes. My goodness, we rotated classes. And another woman taught English, and another woman taught Spanish, and Trefethen, who had a short leg that had a foot that was built up and limped. He taught algebra, and he threw the chalk at the chalkboard one day. And we had lived at, from 1903rd Street, we went up to live at Smith Street. And at Smith Street, I remember a Hudson Terraplane car. I remember an Oldsmobile. I remember trying to build a house in the woods. I remember my father couldn't get a job in his skill, which was as a barber, an excellent barber. He could not get a job. And he had to go into sales, try to sell things. And he sold little hats, farmers' hats. And he went door to door out in the country, and he sold blankets. And the blankets would be sold on time, and the people would have to pay 50 cents a week. And when the people couldn't pay the 50 cents a week, he had to repossess the blanket. He had to take a blanket away from those people in the wintertime, way out in the woods of Maine. This is the Depression. (1939). 12 years old would be 7th grade. And we had cooking. Yes, we had home economics, it was called. And the first half of the year, we did cooking. And we had to go to Bangor High School for that, because Hannibal Hamlin didn't have a kitchen to teach it. So we had to go to Bangor High School. And the boys took manual training. They made stands and a cedar chest. Gordon made a beautiful little cedar chest. Then we lived on Summer Street. And all the time, the Bangor school system was building 2 junior high schools, 5th Street Junior High School and Garland Street Junior High School. One on this side of the city, one on that side of the city. Brand new high schools. Beautiful high schools. Remember, the gymnasium was on this end and the auditorium was on this end, and all the classrooms were in between. We had art class, once in a while. Latin. So, call me up, please, and share your recollections for 5 minutes. Is there anything on here that we forgot.com? Sorry, dear. She stays within 6 inches of me all day long. I remember on Smith Street that we had ghost stories, and we would collect foil. Cigarette packages would be thrown on the street, and we'd open up the cigarette package, empty package, and take out the foil and see who could get the biggest ball of tin foil. Teddy bears. I had 4 teddy bears. Billy was the biggest. And then the second one. Then the third one was Nancy. And the fourth one was Pee-wee. I remember I had a bow and arrow. I thought that was great. Cost less than $1, but that was good for me to even have a toy at all. And I went to a missionary church, and they gave me pins for the attendance. And I tried to go every Sunday so I could get all the pins. That was nice. That would, like, it corresponds to the Bible churches of today, or the born-again churches of today. They met in storefronts. I tried to build a shack in the woods. I remember my father trying so hard to make sales and going out late at night and going all over Maine in around Bangor, small towns, and driving home at night on Route 2A, coming into Bangor from the, well, sort of from the southwest. No, southeast. And, no, southwest. And he just fell asleep and he hit the guardrail. And I remember people stopping and taking care of me because I was a child. Then we lived on Summer Street, and there was 5 or 6 houses built by a Cassidy family, and they built a house for each child, and that houses were all similar. They all had the same type of fireplaces, tile fireplaces, and they were beautiful houses. And how did they make their money? Probably from lumber, and I think the Garlands, who lived across, the 2 big mansions who lived across from the Coe estate on Court Street, I think they probably made their money by ravishing the trees. It's fun, isn't it? Why are you dressed up? Well, because I did the biography. It's gone. It's gone. The beautiful 3-petal mushroom has been eaten. It was eaten, folks. It was eaten. It did not get a chance to distribute its spores and then to atrophy the way this one did, which was higher up on the tree trunk. She had about 7 of them. From Scripture, Luke 16:19-31, our brother's keeper. This is one of the clearest and most direct parables Jesus told. It starts with Lazarus, a beggar who lay suffering, miserable, and ignored outside the home of a rich man. By contrast, the rich man had a wonderful and comfortable life on earth, oblivious to what was happening outside his very door. In the afterlife, however, it is the rich man who suffers torment and begs for relief. The rich man was condemned and became, not because he was wealthy, but because he had become blind to the suffering of others. He knew what Scripture and the prophets said, what God expected of him, but he didn't do it. His suffering in the afterlife was just punishment. The Bible makes it plain that God wants us to love each other as God does. When we live our faith, we transform our prayers into deeds of love, just as Jesus asked. As he demonstrates in this parable, the reward for doing what Jesus asked will be joy. Success Publishing. So folks, we have to do the telephoning outdoors because we don't get a signal. And there is the 90-foot willow tree. And it's still summer. And this is Labor Day week. And school has started. And we're doing the Thursday calls. And Ruffy Cat is here and wants company. And it's sunny. What are we going to do this winter? We can't get a signal in the house. The audio is very good on this, and so is the video. telephoning is a ministry. And it's a ministry from God. So, you must do it. And the directive also is to make a record of the telephone calls. The temperature today is 46 degrees. It's the first time that's happened this summer. Today is hello, Ruffy Cat. Welcome. Welcome, Ruffy Cat. How is Willa? You have a beautiful tail, Ruffy Cat. Rings on it. And you want people to see you? Aren't you handsome? He's the neighbor cat. He's rubbing his chin against the tripod legs. Not a good idea, Ruffy. You did all three of them now. Okay. Thanks. Bye. Okay, let's go. The Friday calls are done on September the 6th. Next Friday is the Friday the 13th. And yesterday when I went down Albany Avenue and all the Jewish people were outside their synagogue, just finished their service, I said Happy New Year, and they knew I wasn't Jewish. And they were very pleased and they smiled, and that's ecumenical. That's love. Okay. TV stations. Number 1, McCune. No, Korea. 203. (881). (5903). This is for Seymour, Connecticut. We're up to the S's and going through the TV stations. It's a lot of work, isn't it? Should we continue it, God?
Hello, no one is available to take your call. Please leave a message after the tone.
It's Glendora, folks, and you people are darlings. The way you continue to keep a chat with Glendora on the TV, without you it would not be there. And this is a new thing. Comcast is now accepting the TV show by computer. Austin goes to Google Drive and he sends them a link, and then he sends the chat with Glendora up on the link. They get it on their computer, and there is no mailing of discs anymore. Isn't that a stride? Joke of the day, the unusual obituary. The family requests no flowers be sent. Send all donations to Visa, MasterCharge, and American Express. 518-610-5810. I think it went through. That's done. Here comes a car. Who car is it? Oh. Or is it a car leaving? No, it is a car parking. No. It is a car leaving. I think it's Sue and Clayton's car. They turned around way up there instead of down here. Must be my fault. McHugh. Well, this telephoning outdoors is getting easier. Nine one seven 208 0782.
Hey, Glendora, how are you?
I'm wonderful, thanks. How do you have my number after all these years?
Oh, it makes my day when I get a call from you.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
How's your newspaper?
Well, it hasn't hit the ground yet, but hopefully one of these days.
Oh, okay.
Trying every day. Trying every day.
Yeah, bless your heart. What else is going on?
Straight of office. If you're trying... Please hold for Melissa Leonard.
Be under the car? Oh, for heaven's sake. You were underneath the car.